Welcome, everyone. This is the Real Purpose Podcast. I'm Michelle Carr.
And I'm Trevor Ounce. This is a podcast about finding real purpose in our business, community, and our lives.
So it's February.
It is.
It's Valentine's Day. Well, it was Valentine's Day.
Did I miss it already?
Yeah, you still owe flowers to Susie.
Oh, no.
And I thought it might be interesting to talk about love.
Sure.
And I think, obviously, with Valentine's Day, most people associate the holiday with romantic love.
Yeah.
But, like, there's so many songs that tell us all the world needs is a little bit more love.
That's all you need is love.
All you need is love. Love is all you need. Anyway.
I won't sing. Nobody wants to hear me sing.
But it's an interesting concept because I think that love is really an expression of kindness in some ways. And I think, we're not looking for people to be romantically loving one another.
Yeah, no, there's degrees of love.
That'd be weird.
Yeah.
But the idea that we can approach life, we can approach situations, we can approach people with a more loving approach.
Yeah.
And maybe that means more empathy, or maybe it means more understanding, or maybe it just means giving a little bit of grace.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the first thing that comes to my mind is, especially, it's really front of mind when you're involved with the Airdrie Angel program and you do hear all these stories, is to kind of be a little bit more kind, a little bit more loving, because you never know what the person you're talking to is going through.
Yes.
And I'm always amazed of like hearing the stories, not necessarily just involved with the Airdrie Angel, but about people that you had interactions with for the past couple of months or weeks or whatever. And someone's just like, hey, did you know they're going through this? And you're like, oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And not that it would have changed anything, but you just never know like what people are carrying with them throughout the day. And maybe just being a little bit more like softer or gentler or loving can really help them in ways that like you'll never even know that you did help them.
And I feel like we do say that a lot, but I think it bears repeating because it's so important. Yeah. And oftentimes when I sit down with our recipients, like they aren't people that I wouldn't have stood behind line, you know what I'm saying? At the grocery store or something. Or that were at a table next to me in a restaurant or buying do you know what I mean? Like, you just don't know. And sometimes I sit down and think, have I met them before? Do I know them from somewhere? Because, like sometimes you do.
Yeah.
But they're just, everyone has a story. You just don't know what it is.
Yeah. I think we talked about it, on an earlier podcast too, is like never assume the worst too. That whole thing of like, you never know what people are going through. And for me anyways, my experience has been, you have that part of your life where you're sheltered and everything is perfect. And then as you get older, you kind of realize that like people get sick, people lose their job. Like it's not as that protected world as you grew up in.
Yeah.
And, people don't just show that or shut down. You have to keep going, even if you are dealing with an illness or you're dealing with a loved one who's sick. You have to, get up and go to your job, and you're not going to want to tell everybody at your job what you're dealing with.
No, sometimes it's hard to.
Yeah, and you're like you don't want to, or you're just you can't come to telling people about it because it is so difficult. So I just think it's whether someone's going through a rough time or not, it's just kind of a nice default to you just be nice, like because you never know, like they could be having the best life and the best, but it's not going to hurt to be nice.
Well, and the thing is too, like we were talking about how there are avenues that are out there, whether it's on social media or just in the world in general, that are about love and like loving comments and loving, support and that kind of stuff. And then there's also the antithesis of that out there as well. That's about negativity. Yeah. And look, I'm not against feedback. Feedback is incredibly important. That's how we get better. But I'm for constructive feedback. And sometimes it has to be direct and straightforward, but it doesn't mean it can't have an element of kindness or lovingness to it as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's so refreshing to me when there are conversations about supporting and loving and all that kind of stuff. And I question myself and think, Do I want to go down the rabbit hole of looking at the negative?
Mm-hmm.
No. I know it's available out there.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's documentaries I could watch. I know there's groups on social media I could be a part of. I know it. I know it's there. Of course it is. But I would prefer not to.
Yeah.
And not to be oblivious per se.
No.
But because there's a lot of difficulty in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather, when I choose to spend time, spend it in a positive, productive place.
Yeah. And that's a good point too you make, that I think that's also the kind of default of just human nature, maybe, that if you were wronged or you didn't receive a service, to go and put that complaint up there, or to leave that out there in the world, or start a group griping about it. But if you get great service, or you get, you had a great experience, I think it's less common to go out there and tell everybody that you had that great experience. Not saying it doesn't happen. It definitely does happen, both sides. There's always the negative. You can find the negative in anything.
Yes.
And you can find negative stuff out in that universe anywhere. Yeah. And I do love the fact that, especially in Airdrie, it seems that there are a lot of those positive reinforcing groups out there that I don't think are like the norm, I guess.
I think we have like a positive reinforcing community.
Yeah.
You know, and so it was funny. I happened to be at a Blue Zones event earlier this month. And it was about how we're bringing Blue Zones to Airdrie, and we want to make Airdrie the healthiest city and all this kind of stuff. And it was an incredible cross-section of people. There were people in the room that I've known for years, and there were people I had never met, which was fantastic. And Sarah Chamberlain was there, and she is the team leader for the economic development team at the city of Airdrie. And she says to me, we're sitting next to each other, and she says, do you think that our business community hugs more than others?
Absolutely it does.
And I said, I bet it does.
Oh, God.
And so it came up later in the discussion, and we were like, yeah, of course we do. And I think that speaks to the relationships that we build. And I think the Airdrie business community genuinely cares for one another, and we want to support each other. And if we can't get what we need, or it's not available, it's almost sort of gutting that we can't get it from one of our people. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? One of our people in our community. And I think the reason that I know that is because I see how we treat each other. Yeah. And it's always a hug and how are you? And we know about each other's family. And I think that that's what keeps Airdrie small town feel as well. It is because you literally know the people you do business with and work with and play with.
Well, Susie and I often talk about this all the time, that, starting our company anywhere else would have been, we think anyways, would have been 10 times harder. Yeah. Just because when we did start up Switchback Creative, it was like all the walls were down for us. People were introducing us to other people. Yeah. They were, giving us advice. I mean, what you and Matt, just introduced us to so many people. And there was just this feeling of everybody around us wanted to see us succeed. Yeah. Right. And I even find that even with competition, like direct competition, personally, you want to see that whole industry succeed, your whole kind of industry succeed, because I think it makes just for better products, better placement, a better place in Airdrie, right? If everybody is succeeding rather than not. And I think that is unusual. I think that having this kind of community of, everybody wants to see you succeed, I don't know if that's like a normal thing. I don't know. I can't speak from experience because I've only ran a business in Airdrie. Right? But from what I tell people, if anybody's even thinking about starting a business here, I just say go for it, because there's so many people that will just bend over backwards to help you out if you just ask or you meet the right people. It is a very loving community, business community anyways. And I find too, people notice when you give back too, and it is actually a big deal. People want to see that too. Yeah. And it's I don't know, it to me, it just, people in Airdrie notice these things, and it's just a helpful place to be in. Yeah. And it is that small town. I think we've grown, but we've maintained that really tiny town feeling. Yeah. Which is really awesome.
I wonder, kind of thinking back to the start of Airdrie Angel, if like we never discussed it per se, but I wonder if there was a subconscious feeling with Matt and I about just looking at this community of Airdrie and how it operates. Because we had started in real estate in 2006. And so this was 7 years later in 2013 when we started the program. So we'd experienced that. Like I was brought in, like when I started real estate, I started with my dad. And Matt and I met very shortly after, and he would introduce us to everybody. And then we got voluntold to do things. And then we're like, hey, wait, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there was this subconscious sense of this community is incredibly supportive of their businesses, because we personally had felt that ourselves.
Yeah.
And if that's how we kind of identified the gap, if you will, of our citizens and wanting them to feel the way that we do as far as support. And because that's within the business community, but you want the whole community to feel that. And at the Blue Zones thing, that's one of the things we kind of went around the circle at the end and talked about it, our feelings about everything. And that was the thing that I said, that I feel like I have such a great sense of community. And I'm fortunate to have that, because I do business in Airdrie, volunteering in Airdrie, I'm raising my kids in Airdrie, and I grew up in Airdrie.
Yeah.
So that obviously helps. But I have a great sense of support and love that I feel in this community. And I want everyone in our community to feel that. Yeah. And, we could do a whole episode on Blue Zones. Maybe we will.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's different ways of doing that. And I just think if we can be more loving and more kind, that's how people feel supported. And then with the program, I guess it was maybe a subconscious thing. Like I'm just sort of wondering that to myself,
And maybe that's the magic of Airdrie is, especially now that we've become a little bit bigger of a city, and there are some quite cool businesses and shops here that actually operate. And maybe that's the thing, is like we've passed that along to all the new ones. And like, that's why as a business community, we feel so supported by the people that live here, because we also try to give that back.
Yeah. And to each other.
Yeah. And where, I'm kind of a firm believer that you can't just live and take from a community. You have to give that back too, because without the city of Airdrie, our business would be nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to give for that support that you get from your citizens and the people that help your business. But maybe that's the difference of like Airdrie is just, no matter how big we are, we're still that community of Airdrie. Yes. Whereas, not that I'm knocking any other district in Calgary or anything, but like if you're just in a, like say, just in a small district in Calgary, you don't really feel the whole of Calgary, right? Yeah. Just your little tiny area of Calgary, right? Whereas now, like if anything's happening in Airdrie, I think we all kind of feel it, or we all want to be part of it. Yeah. Where there might not be any kind of thing happening in your little community, but Calgary in itself is such a big city. I'm not sure I'm really boiling it down, but I think like that it's the fact that we can still grow and we're just adding to our awesomeness. You know what I mean? Yeah. Without dividing the city and into small little quadrants.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, where we're still that city of Airdrie, where when one event happens, all the businesses from everywhere go there and they happen at that event.
Yes.
And I think like that's the cool thing, or like the really like the awesome thing about the Airdrie Angel program is that it's not to a district of Airdrie, it's the whole city. It's the whole city, yeah. So everybody can get behind that, right? Whereas if it operated maybe in Calgary, maybe you'd have to be very specific on where you could and couldn't operate it, because it is such a bigger city.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just so unique, and
it is, yeah.
And I think, really, I think you can have a sense of community regardless of size if it is boiled down to loving and caring for one another. Yeah. I mean, that's really what community is. It's a group of people who care for one another. Absolutely. Right? And I can speak to that in various situations, from volunteer situations to like real estate situations to like parents and, hockey and all that kind of stuff. Like there's a sense of community when another parent can bring your kid home from practice because your schedule got jammed up. You know, there's a sense of community when you're all sitting around a boardroom table stuffing tags in for accreditation. You know, like there's a sense of community when you can connect your client with another business that can help support them. And I think when we do things like that are of service, that it's an act of love to me, because you're giving of yourself to elevate or help, whether it's physically doing something or mentally doing something or in a knowledge base or whatever. But I think we're giving, and that's a show of love to give to someone, you know? And I think that's the thing about love. I think it gets, you know, wrapped in a red heart and very, I don't know, chained up as far as definitions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it actually means a lot of different things. You know, and I think it's something that we can expand on. Well,
and I think too, like maybe to expand on that a little bit is, you know, just like Valentine's Day, you don't just show love to the person you're with on that day and then that's it. It's something that is throughout the year. And I think like that's kind of when it comes to just everybody in your community, and not even just business related, just people related, that I think, you know, just showing love on one day or just being kind on one day is really not the point.
Terrible.
It's just kind of trying to take a different approach. And I think even just being more patient with people.
So funny enough, the most popular Bible verse read at, you know, weddings and whatnot it starts with love is kind. I don't know it by heart. It was read at our wedding. I don't even know it by heart. But love is patient, love is kind, love is all these things. And I guess that's what my point today boils down to. So go get your Bible. No, but you can probably Google it. But do you know what I mean? Like, it's such a popular phrase, is that we call it? Whatever. Verse that is said at many weddings, and it's repeated time and time again. But I actually challenge you. This isn't about religion. Like, whatever. Love who you love, follow who you follow, pray to who you pray, or don't. I don't care. It's not my business. But I would encourage people to at least Google that verse. Because it's literally just about love. And that it is so much more than what we sometimes define it as in this little red heart. It's a lot of things. And I think if we step back and kind of approached life, realizing that being loving is a lot of different things, and it's easy to do. It's so easy to do. And people feel valued. And I think we would change a lot of things in this world if we just loved a little more.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's probably a hit song coming out there, but oh no, wait, that's been done.
That's been,
But I think I don't know, I just think it's a concept that can be really expanded beyond a couple of, you know, a day in the year with flowers that die and chocolate that makes you fat, or whatever. It's funny though too, if people are listening to this podcast, Valentine's Day will have passed when this comes out. And they may not listen to it the day it comes out. So it could have passed many months ago.
Years even.
Years, because they will come back and listen. Decades.
Syndicated.
Exactly. Syndicated. I love it. But I would challenge people, like you were saying, like, you know, think about what you can do today to show love to someone. It doesn't mean like, I love you, here's the box of the chocolates. Like we've said.
I think,
so many
I think it's just like really, really, really simple things. And I think I really like the, you know, the patient thing. Be patient with people, and, you know, even just if it comes down to just, you know, you notice somebody walking behind you, coming into or out of the store or whatever, just hold the door.
So,
you know,
it's interesting because you're talking about patience and we were talking about empathy and stuff like that. So, you remember Pat, our recipient in January, she had cancer. She was expecting or hoping, to live to meet her great grandbaby. And, I got an email at the end of January that she passed away.
Oh no.
Sorry. And I was at a work meeting when I got the email. And so I gasped because I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
But I had to finish what we were doing, and so I put it aside for a moment. But then later on, I was chatting with two people, and I said, sorry guys, I have to tell you this. Like, I have to tell someone. I just need to let it out kind of thing. And so I was sharing the story with the two people I was with, and they had love in that moment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry to hear that. And I mean, I don't claim to have known Pat well at all.
Yeah.
Obviously I met her the one time. I was so grateful that she was a recipient for the program, and my heart goes out to her family, because that was very quick, obviously.
Oh my God, that was so quick.
But it was just nice to see that, we can have patience and kindness no matter what it is. And the people that I shared it with were like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that, Michelle."
Yeah.
The same way that I responded to the person who had nominated her once I found out about it, and had empathy for her. And do you know what I mean? And I think if we all have that empathy and support and love for one another, we can get through the challenging, sad stuff too.
And that just brings up that point again, is you never know what someone's carrying, is that, even before you shared it with your friends, you had to sit through a meeting with that kind of on your mind, right?
Yeah.
So people in that meeting would have never have known what you just got hit with.
Yeah.
But if they were like just a little, like just nice or softer or whatever, maybe that meeting was something about a deadline you missed, and they were just, you never know, and they're beating you up on it or whatever. That you just never know what someone just got in their inbox.
Exactly.
And that could be, their phone, email inbox, or just their life inbox.
Exactly.
And I just think that just keep that in the back of your mind, that you just never know what someone's having to deal with.
What I thought about was someone buying a fruit tray or veggie tray at the grocery store. Because you see people buying those for, parties and stuff all the time. But what if they were taking it to a wake?
Yeah.
Or to someone, and you literally don't know. And the example is incredibly simple, but the point is that, they might be taking that to a party at their friend's home, but they may also be taking it to their best friend's house who just lost their spouse. Yeah. And we just don't know. So let's be loving. Let's be kind.
Yeah. So sad to hear that too.
Yeah. Well, I think we should get into the stories for this month and take it from there.
Sounds good.
The Real Purpose podcast is brought to you by the Car Group, a real estate team that wants you to love your community as much as your home. Real estate with real purpose. Visit thecargroup.ca today. Okay, Trevor. So our first story for February is Bob.
Okay.
And we actually chat quite a bit about sort of what they've been going through. So I'll just let you listen to the call.
Sure.
I'm sitting here today with you, Bob, and your nominator told us that it's been challenging. Your wife was in a car accident, and that impacted her ability to work. And so you're kind of the only one that's working right now.
Yeah. That's
a lot of stress, a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And you got three beautiful boys. So just tell us what it's been like last little while for you guys.
It's just been really hard for 3 years now.
Yeah.
3 years in March, right?
Yes.
So, just being the only person bringing money in for a family of 5 can get pretty tough.
Yeah. That probably weighs on you.
Yeah, and after, last year I had to claim bankruptcy because it was just too much debt piling up.
Yeah.
So, it just makes it tough.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. I'm sorry to hear that. We, we hear of families that have been going through challenging times. I mean, it's common these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were glad to get your nomination because the Airdrie Angel program is all about lifting people's spirits. And sometimes that's financial help as well. But it's to know that you're not alone, because sometimes when you're going through something like that, it can feel like you are kind of all by yourself on an island, and it's just nice to know the community is here to support you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The first item we have for you is a gift certificate for Summer Hill Florist. I think we believe flowers always brighten a person's day, so we have that.
Fantastic.
Yeah. There was a fundraiser in January that was put on by F45, Push Cycling, and 9 Round, and they raise money for Airdrie Angel. So with their funds, we have a $100 gift card for a family outing for you guys, because it's probably been challenging to go out and do fun stuff as a family, right?
Yeah, anything for a family of 5 is expensive.
I bet. So we have $100 for movie gift cards for you guys.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Montana's Restaurant has donated a $200 gift card for dinner out. So you can have dinner and a movie if you'd like.
Wow.
100 Men Who Give a Damn have donated $200 just for outdoor supplies, because we understand you guys are an outdoorsy family, and being able to do things like that lift your heart is important. So we have a gift card for that. Big Springs Plumbing and Heating has donated $200 gift card for groceries for you.
Wow.
Yes.
Together, the Rotary Club of Airdrie, as well as one of our community members, Ainsley Woodward, has donated, they've each donated $100 so that you have a $200 gift card for gas.
Oh, wow.
Kids Up Front has donated 5 tickets to the Calgary Roughnecks game, and that's going to be coming up this Saturday for you guys.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, and finally, David Bowman Painting has donated $500 cash for whatever you may need.
Wow, cash. All that plus cash.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's really amazing.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I'm glad. Sometimes when we're going through challenging times, it's nice to have a couple of little things. Sure, groceries, gas, all that stuff helps. But to also have something where you guys can have some fun together as a family, because that's usually the first thing that gets cut out, right? So
Yeah, because when you're struggling, getting out
Yeah.
is the biggest struggle, because everything costs money.
exactly.
Even if it's just gas to go somewhere.
Yeah,
If you know you don't have enough gas money to get you through to the next payday,
yeah,
it's impossible.
yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
that in itself is huge. Really huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was I love the way he put that, because I think Bob really put it into perspective, because we've been talking, you don't know what people are going through and all that kind of stuff. And you don't necessarily know the financial struggles that people are going through either. And, that there are people in our community that don't know if they will have enough groceries before payday, or if they'll make it with gas before they get paid again. And that's tough, and it's a challenge. And, I think it's nice when we can rally behind people. And I mean, it's not millions upon millions of dollars, but if that little bit helps.
Well, for me, listening to that, you can really hear kind of the relief, a little bit of sometimes all you need to do is just catch your breath. And,
yes,
I just think when you're going through something like that, and you're just trying to make it by every day, you're just trying to get through that day. That's got to be tiring.
Yeah.
Exhausting, both mentally, physically, emotionally. And to me, it just sounded like Bob could just take a breath, and I can take my kids to the movie and we can forget about all this just for one night.
Yeah.
And maybe that's enough to help get you to that next stage or
Boost
whatever.
you.
But, to me, the biggest thing that I keep hearing is just that ability to take a deep breath and say, okay, it's not over, but I can now go to the next,
I'll be okay.
I can take at least a deep breath and reset and refocus. And I mean, it's really hard. It must be just really hard to be in that.
Oh, it's interesting you say that too, because I noticed as I was sharing the package with them, you could see his shoulder slowly dropping as we went through it. And it's funny because sometimes, I mean, it's only audio, right? And I have the pleasure of having the visual with it as well. But what you hear him say is, wow. And you hear him say it a number of times. And I can tell you from sitting across from him, it was exactly what you're saying. It was a deep breath, a sense of relief, and oh my goodness, like that's what the wow was. And you're just hearing one word, but I can tell you from what I saw, it meant so much more.
Mm-hmm.
It meant so much more to them. So I'm excited that they have this bit of relief. And it was also one of their son's birthdays recently.
Wow. Oh,
so it worked out too with the Roughnecks ticket. So I hope they had a great time.
Cool.
Yeah.
The Real Purpose Podcast is brought to you by Switchback Creative, a marketing and web development company that is committed to telling the story of your brand. Check us out at switchbackcreative.ca.
All right, Trevor, our second story, we actually are keeping this person anonymous. Okay. So I'm not going to share the name, or we didn't do audio for it either.
Okay.
So I'm just going to tell you their story a little bit and what they've been going through. Basically, they own their own business. And right now, the husband is basically working 16 to 20 hours a day, as you do when you are starting and building a business. Mm-hmm. And it's barely covering costs. Mm. And that resonated with me because, you know, in business for self, I'm sure it resonates with you too, where you're just pedal to the metal, you're grinding, and then nothing's coming from it. Right. Yeah. And it can be really hard in those moments because you have to, you know, plant the seeds before it can grow, but how long can you wait before it starts to grow and, you know, you really can get the fruits of your labor.
Self-doubt and all that stuff starts creeping in. And what, I made a mistake. Exactly. Yeah, it sounds like we've all been there. Absolutely.
Exactly. So I could feel that for them. Yeah. And of course, they've had to have those hard discussions about possibly closing the business. And I had a business that I did close, and I felt for her. I know what that conversation is like with yourself in your head, but also with your partner. Yeah. And I'm sure Matt can attest to hours of conversations, you know, about that. And it's hard because you put your heart and soul into something, or you put your best efforts in. And then when you start to look at the hard numbers and you realize it's not going to work. Yeah. It's really hard. And depending on how much you've put into it, how much of your identity gets wrapped into it and all that kind of stuff, that can be really hard to walk away from.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And so I felt for them on that level for sure. And of course, when you're grappling with that decision, it's stressful and it can make you physically ill with that stress and that anxiety. So that's going on for them.
Jeez.
They're also expecting their second baby.
Oh, wow.
And have a little one at home. So that's a lot to deal with as well, just in life. Yeah. So it was interesting though, as we were going through this, she said to me, you know, I feel a little bit guilty because I've heard some of the stories of the people that you guys have put packages together for with Airdrie Angel. And it's not like that for us. Mm-hmm. And I said, but you are taking a huge risk with business ownership. Yeah. And that's hard.
Absolutely.
It's not easy. And it might not be the story that everyone expects, but it's a story that certainly, I don't make the selections, but I felt connected to this one.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that constant, you have to keep your foot on the pedal, never take a break or it's going to be over.
Exactly.
That's like no safety net.
Nothing.
You're out there. Having a second child. I mean, I couldn't, I would be very maxed out.
Exactly. But she was incredibly grateful. And what wasn't in her nomination because it hadn't happened was a series of really, really sad events. I won't repeat them in, you know, wanting to keep it anonymous, but just passing away of people and that kind of stuff in her life very, very recently. Yeah. And, you know, when you now add that onto it, she said, when I found out, I cried tears of joy because it was good news in a long string of bad news. Yeah. And I just thought, yep, that's what this should be. Yeah. That's what this should be. So I'll share with you what her package was.
Okay, yeah.
First of all, we started off with blankets from Project Linus.
Oh.
So one for the baby on the way and then one for the toddler.
Yeah.
We had a house cleaning from Pink One Cleaning.
Awesome.
Which is fantastic. Any new mom or pregnant mom can always love that. Big Hill Springs Plumbing and Heating did a grocery store gift card for $200.
Awesome.
100 Men Who Give a Damn did a fuel gift card for $200. We also did a gift card for dinner out for them if they can
awesome.
sneak in
Yeah.
a date night.
Yeah.
But it also has the opportunity for them to be able to order in because it's hard sometimes to get out, or new baby and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So she said, I'm going to save these for after the baby is born. Very wise. We also had from David Bowman Painting a gift card for a home store, like home renovation type stuff.
Okay.
Just again, helping stuff around the house. And what was interesting when I told her about that, she said, after going through this and trying to build up the business and everything, we never really even did a nursery for our first child. Yeah. And maybe we can do something now for our second, which is really cool. So we also had a gift card from the Triple Sweat event, which was push cycling, F45, and 9-round boxing. And we were able to get them a $200 gift card for a baby and toddler store so they can get all the things that they need for that. And finally, from David Bowman Painting, we had $500 cash. So pretty exciting stuff. They were extremely grateful. And, I hope, like we were saying with the other story, it's just that deep breath. Yeah. And when you're going through the stress with the business and young family, you can always use a deep breath, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Trevor, for our purpose pick, we kind of mentioned it earlier.
Yep.
But I think it's worth checking out, which is Corinthians 13:4, because we just looked it up to make sure. Thank God for Google.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth reading. And like I say, this isn't a diatribe on religion or choice or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Just the words. And I have it, we looked it up. So I will read the first part of it. It says, love is patient. Love is kind. It isn't jealous. It doesn't brag. It isn't arrogant. It isn't rude. It doesn't seek its own advantage. It isn't irritable. It doesn't keep a record of complaints. It isn't happy with injustice, but it is happy with the truth. Love puts up with all things, trusts in all things, hopes for all things, endures all things.
Wow.
I kind of feel like that. We should have just read that. The podcast would have been 5 minutes today. But I think, it's a pretty old book. So I feel like they nailed it.
Yeah.
I think that was Paul. I don't know. But sometimes it's just going back to basics and
says it all right there.
So that's our purpose pick. Go have a look. See, Google it.
The Old Testament.
Yeah, exactly. Or no, is that I don't even know.
It's probably new.
Maybe we should get Corey on here and he can explain it to us.
Yeah.
Corey Cope, help us out. All right. Well, that's it for this episode, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Feel free, leave comments below if you are watching it on Facebook or on YouTube, whatever the case may be. Or if you're listening to it, you can listen to it on pretty much any podcast platform. Anchor, iTunes, Google, Spotify, lots to pick from. Subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And if you know someone in Airdrie that is going through a difficult time, could be financial, could be medical, could be any number of things, nominate them. Go to airdrieangel.ca and nominate them today.
Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, we are all wishing you real purpose in all that you do.